Start the meeting back up. I forgot we have to have staff go before we do the public comment, so I'll call up staff now for their presentation.
Forgot about some.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Fegon with Community Development for the record. In the interest of time, I can go ahead and just do a very abridged version of the presentation, just hit some high points. I know we have a lot of public here and a lot of public comment, so there's no sense in really holding that up. I think the staff report speaks for itself anyway, in terms of the analysis that was provided for your consideration. I think there's just a few things I would want to go ahead and clear up, both some areas of agreement that I can go ahead and reinforce, and then some areas where perhaps we just don't see it the same way as the applicant. So we'll just go through quickly and clear some of those up and kind of move on from there. In fact, I'll just go ahead and jump to the portions regarding the staff opinion. So first thing, actually, I'll just start with the LPA hearing again. This was heard by the LPA back on August 28th. It was advertised in accordance with your rules and requirements. The original motion was to approve the proposed changes, but that motion did fail because there was no second, so the motion was to deny. And the reason for the denial that was given at that time with the LPA was that they felt that the appropriate designation was the county designations that it had for the county portions, and for the portions that were annexed within the city of DRGR, resource protection and wetlands, and that to date, this council or previous councils has not provided any direction in terms of altering the standards of the DRGR or resource protection wetland categories or any other allowances in that area. A few other things that we would go ahead and just quickly point out is that, you know, you heard a lot tonight about the companion zoning application and the standards for zoning. And while I think there is merit to the quality of the zoning project that could be on this particular property, I would just keep in mind that this is not a zoning hearing. This is a land use hearing in determining whether or not you heard enough tonight to transmit a proposed future land use map change and text change on that property. So again, you still are talking about a density increase that would be allowed compared to what's there now. I think where we might have some area of disagreement is whether or not this proposal is compatible to surrounding land uses. I think you can definitely make an argument that it's compatible with what's developed on the south side of Bonita Beach Road directly across the street. And in some ways, you could also argue that it's less dense and less intense than what was developed to the south side across the street. I think when you look around at the aerial and what else is around it, a lot of it is protected land already. It's conservation land. It's other DRGR lands. A lot of it is already within the Water Management District or Lee County jurisdiction and ownership. There still are some swaths of privately owned land in and around the area that has similar categories to this as well. And there was something in the analysis that discussed that failure to redesignate would essentially lead to urban sprawl, especially if they were to go ahead and build to the density that was already afforded on the property, which is approximately 14 units between the two jurisdictional boundaries, mainly all single-family homes. So I think there is some area of disagreement in that regard. Where I think we do have some agreement, though, is that I think that it's clear that the mining operation has altered the site. So I don't believe we are really talking about that particular portion of the property. I think the other portions are where we potentially have some potential concerns or some considerations that might be up for discussion. Now, to their credit, they are placing the areas of the more high-quality wetland areas within the resource protection future land use category. So keep that in mind as well, that this is not just a request to designate everything into urban fringe. It's to designate it into urban fringe and resource protection. And to their credit, they are going to be placing a lot of the areas of those higher quality wetlands in the resource protection future land use category. Staff also agrees that providing the 100,000 square feet of commercial opportunities would yield some potential for some trip capture for all those rooftops that are out there east of I-75, which there are a lot of them. But again, that is a function of zoning and not necessarily a function and scope of a land use change, but it is worth mentioning. But ultimately, you know, a change of this scope is a policy decision. And in terms of policy, you did hear before how, you know, this isn't about consideration of Bonita Springs DRGR, that these properties do still carry with them the Lee County DRGR designation that they held upon being annexed, and then the other portions that are still within the county. What I would want to mention to that point, though, is that when you read the county's DRGR policy, it doesn't just mention, you know, areas of suitable wetlands or aquifer recharge. It does also mention uplands as well. And there are quality uplands that are on this site as well that would potentially be impacted by the development. So it's not just the wetlands that we're talking about here. It is the uplands as well that could be utilized for potential development. And the other thing I would add to the Lee County policy is that when you look at the Lee County Comprehensive Plan, they tend to designate their land use categories into 3 areas. You have urban areas, suburban areas, and non-urban areas. And the non-urban areas are areas where they feel that development isn't suitable on a large-scale basis. There might be some individual cases where it's possible, but largely they don't see it as suitable for development at that time. The county's DRGR policy is within their non-urban area portion of the comprehensive plan. And again, that is the category that befalls most of the project that we're talking about today. So with those areas of clarification, I can continue on with the full scale presentation, but again, I know we have a lot of public here for comments, so unless you have any questions of me, we do have our environmentalist, Laura Gibson, here if you have any environmental questions. We do have Tom Ross joining us via Zoom, and we also have David Theriak as well.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for staff? Chris?
Mike, to your knowledge, is the I-75 Bonita Beach Road interchange funded, the improvements?
I would have to go back and check, but not to my knowledge.
Okay, has the county funded any improvements to Bonita Beach Road?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Laura?
I can speak to the MPO, and as, oh gosh, I'd have to go back in my notes, spoke that it was confirmed by the head of MPO, Don Scott, that, and Mike, you and Jim are both at the meetings, that 75 expansion from Golden Gate to Corkscrew has been funded. And it will proceed, and it's designed, and it's going ahead. The issue is the on-ramp.
No kidding.
We're working on them, though, I tell you. They're caving. They really will.
Any other?
Yes. Point of clarification on this whole 75 thing. I know it's been discussed at the MPO, but after they canceled the public forum back in August, I sent an email to Nicole Harris, who was at that time the project director for that particular project. And at that time I asked, what were my 3 questions? I asked 3 questions about specifically the Bonita Beach Road interchange. I asked about the noise studies and when they're going to go ahead and reschedule the public forum. The responses that I received to each of the following. Improvements to the Bonita Beach Road interchange are not included in the current PD&E study limits. FDOT continues to coordinate closely with the city and the MPO and long-term needs for this interchange, but no design or construction timeline has been established for this part of the study. When it was part of the PD&E draft document for that public forum, the interchange was scheduled for some time to be taken care of between 2040 and 2045. The project timeline is there has been no date established for the public forum, and that approximately the PD&E for starting the project will take approximately a year following that public forum, as well as the noise study. So copies of this email that I received from Nicole Harris were provided to council back about a month or two ago, so, point of clarification.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions for staff? All right, we will,
Thank you.
thank you, Mike. We will start public comment. Do we have a list?
We have 16 submitted speaker slips. When I call your name, please go to that lectern and restate your name. The first speaker is Joe Nolan. And Mr. Nolan will be followed by Will George. Will George.
Hi, my name is Joe Nolan. I'm a resident at Valencia on the south side of Bonita Beach Road, approximately 2 miles from the location that's being proposed for this project. After seeing the presentation this evening, come to the realization that this developer has done many, many projects that are very high-end and good quality, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't continue on that same line. I think that the traffic study that's been done and the impact that they're talking about is based on 299 homes, seems to be a negligible number, especially when you think about the fact that we're talking about maybe 6 months out of the year where it's going to be full capacity pouring out onto the road. The rest of the time, I would think most people go back up north like other communities. So, and,
Please, no comments from the audience.
thank you.
Please respect his time. We'll all respect yours.
So again, I think it's a situation where we certainly should give serious consideration to taking this proposal and passing it up to the state level so that they get an opportunity to review it and make some decisions about it. But I certainly do think that it's something that would fit into the landscape of that community where we live now, and certainly would be acceptable. If not, I've been in real estate for a very long time, and my feeling is that if we keep trying to get them to change this project, eventually it's not going to be worth their time. They're going to turn around, they're going to sell the land to somebody else, and then you're going to be starting with a whole new set of issues, and no telling what kind of project is going to be presented to this committee. So I urge you to give this serious consideration and move it up to the appropriate channels and get this project passed and moving. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Will George, and he'll be followed by Fred Forbes.
Sorry, please no applaud for either side. We'll try to keep this moving as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Will George. I am also a resident of Valencia Bonita, a year-round resident for 5 years. And I will echo pretty much what Joe said. Same thing. I feel that the job Seagate has done, not only with the proposal development, but from what I've seen of the existing developments is high quality, first class. I think it would be an asset to Bonita Springs to have this additional development in there. I love the idea of the 100,000 square feet of retail, especially seeking a boutique grocer for the east end of Bonita Beach Road. I think that would be a big asset to many rooftops, as you stated. So I also encourage you to approve what is needed to pass it up to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred Forbes, and he'll be followed by Sigfredo Hernandez.
I'm Fred Forbes, 28200 Alfred Moore Court, Hunter's Ridge. I happen to be a registered architect and a registered engineer in Ohio. I'm a registered engineer and architect in Florida. That would make me an expert witness if I wanted to ask for that. This is a situation where saying no is not going to stop it. Say no, it's going to be built on that 90-some acres that's in Lee County. And Lee County gives big densities, so the density is going to be more. This place is not going to happen overnight. So the traffic isn't going to go from as bad as it is now to like that immediately. It's going to take years. And I do believe we're going to get a new governor. And the new governor, hopefully, is going to be from this area. And that's going to get the ramps and all that straightened out. And he'll bring in his own new team of head of District 1, FDOT.
Fred, please speak
Okay.
towards the microphone.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, what you think about I-75 today is bound to change, especially if he wins, and I think he will. Now, flooding. The city has a much more stringent program that you have to go through. You have to model it with software that was developed for the city. Many times, the design engineer, most of them never make it on the first couple of runs. Some of them had to run it 6 times. What's that tell you? That paper design, which is used in all the other cities, isn't as good as the ones that we do here. We use a 100-year storm. Used to be a 25.
Fred, the microphone.
Also, part of the passing of that test is, if it floods, they can't flood the new development, but neither can they add water to the existing area around it. That's not that way in any other city that I know of. You're in a situation that I can understand the people that are against this. But you got to think about if it goes in and it's built in the county standards, that's what's going to happen. They're not going to sell it. They're going to go to the county, they'll approve it. You probably won't get the grocery store, and the grocery store will take traffic off of the roads because people won't be coming all the way down to Publix, and they won't be going all the way back. So that'll reduce some of the traffic. I'm not saying it's going to cure it. It'll just make it better. So my suggestion would be the city pass this. They're even going to put in a cell tower, and that's going to boost the cell tower reception out there. And that affects also people when they call 911. A lot of times the 911 that you get is Collier County. If you don't believe it, ask the chief of fire department, good friend of mine. Anyway, thank you for the time. I can understand anybody that's against it. I can understand, though, that you have 2 choices. And this is the best choice to let it go. And I've never supported anything going into DRGR.
Thank you, Fred.
It's not to DRGR. Thank you.
Sigfredo Hernandez, and he'll be followed by Jim Lucas.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sigfredo Hernandez. I moved with my wife to Bonita in 2017. We were attracted to the beauty, the natural beauty of this area as compared to the east coast of Florida that is overdeveloped. We felt closer to nature, but we're losing nature, and we're losing nature to development. And CA is trying to take another piece of it. It could be small, but still it's a piece of nature that we love. Just so that everybody knows, Bonita Springs has lost more than 20,000 acres of wetlands in the last 25 years. Okay, so we're going to lose another piece of wetland. I also oppose the project because it's not good for endangered or threatened species. Endangered species like the Florida panther, threatened species like the wood stork, they're wetland dependent. So you take a piece of wetland away and the area around that, you're taking a piece of their habitat away, so you're reducing their life chances. That's the way it works. The Ravenna Lakes project is not good for floods, okay? Wetlands prevent floods. 1 acre of wetland can absorb up to 1 million gallons of water. And so what's going to be happening here, in order to control the flood problem so that it doesn't get to Bonita Beach Road, they're directing the storm water to the back of the property. And where is it? Where is there? Is the Kiel Canal. and the Kiel Canal is the main supplier of water to the Imperial River. So what Seagate is doing is kicking down the flood problem to those neighbors that live near the river, the Imperial River, downstream, okay? And we already know that last year, because of Milton and Helene, many homes were flooded. We know that 3 years ago, because of Ian, a lot of homes were devastated, including my home as well, okay? So this is a problem that needs to be addressed. There's a lot of development taking place along the Imperial River, the Midtown project, the Imperial 41 in downtown, all the stuff, okay? So this adds to that problem. And the Riviera Lakes project is not good for recharging our aquifer. This area has been designated for recharging the aquifer, okay? We know that there's like 2,000 or 2,500 new home units coming into the market here in Bonita. That's a lot of demand for water, okay? We also know, okay, that we're taking more wetland away. So that's going to affect the quantity of the water available to Bonita. And I don't think that we're going to run out of water, but certainly water could be pricier in the future. And finally, this I conclude. I think nothing substantial has changed with this project. Nothing substantial has changed since this council voted no on the project. Nothing substantial has changed since the LPA voted last year no on this project. Nothing substantial has changed since the LPA voted no to this project recently this summer. Nothing has changed substantially except for the pressure that Seagate has probably applied to the city council. So I want you to remember that you represent not Seagate, but you represent Bonita Springs people. So please vote no on this project.
Thank you.
Jim Lucas, and he'll be followed by Candy Moot.
Okay, my name's Jim Lucas. I'm a 20-year resident here. I'm a part of Palmyra, which is across the street from Seagate, so virtually I'm a neighbor of this. And, you know, two things I want to say. One, thank you, council, for listening to all of us. We appreciate it and the work that you do. The second thing is, thank you very much for making us 6A. Okay. Things I noted that I heard earlier was, you know, the local planning authority has denied the Seagate project twice. They mentioned that 22,100 homes have been built in Lee County on DR/GR land since 2014. I don't think that's necessarily an accomplishment. And recently, Lee County purchased 20 acres of land right near Bonita Grande for conservation, which is right near where this development is being built. Things I can tell you that I know about traffic, okay? There's about 2,000 homes being built off Bonita Beach Road east of I-75. I can, you know, immediately see increased traffic even without those homes yet being inhabited. People aren't living there yet. When I came here for the meeting, I didn't do a traffic study, but Imperial data told me it took me a long time to get here because it was backed up on Bonita Beach Road. And again, you know, about the widening and expanded ramp projects, I'd like that to happen, but if it doesn't, you know, if we have 2,000 more residents and 3,000 more cars, I don't think things are going to get better. And I understand traffic is not your domain, but if we allow this development further, it'll increase traffic congestion, which will become larger, and with new homes being built. A second thing I want to mention is about EMS fire response. You know, when I take a look at the last study I could find on Bonita Springs, on our EMS calls, total response time is 9.7 minutes. The standard for Lee County is 8 minutes, 59 seconds. For fire calls, the total response time is 11 minutes. Each of those numbers don't meet the standard of Lee County, okay? Now, with more traffic, that would mean a lengthening of the response time of these emergency vehicles and fire trucks. So people can get hurt, they can die. Lastly, I just want to recall, that, 2,000 people, 1,200 people have signed the pause petition, and they're only asking for you to comply with the Bonita Springs Council mission statement to uphold and enforce codes and ordinances that protect the health, safety, and welfare of residents, business owners, and visitors. And I think when you come to DRGR, when I researched it, I found that there's only about 4,000 acres of DRGR conservation land left in Bonita Springs. There's not much more we can give up. So I'd ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Candy Moot, and she'll be followed by Chuck Nichols.
Hi, good evening. Nice to see you all tonight. I appreciate everything you do. I live and vote here in Bonita Springs. I'm originally from Vermont, where my dad served on our city council for 35 years. Obviously, we don't have term limits up there. So I am going to read my comments tonight so I can stay within the 3 to 4 minutes that we're allowed. So I hope you'll bear with me so I don't go winding off on some crazy tangent. We all obviously just heard a lengthy presentation from Seagate staff and consultants making lots of promises. So I stand here tonight feeling just a tad like David pushing against Goliath. As I believe you're aware, a few months ago, a petition was circulated to voters in Bonita Springs asking our LPA and you folks, the ultimate decision makers, to take a pause in the development in the area of Seagate's proposal until we can fully understand the impacts of Midtown and the nearly 2,000 housing and apartment units that Jim Lucas just mentioned that are being built right in this area but are yet to be occupied. As of tonight, this petition has gathered nearly 1,300 verified signatures from residents in Bonita Springs, residents who live in every single zip code in this city. This is important to note so that no one thinks that this is just a District 6 issue, because it is not. We've also developed an extremely large email list for the first time, I believe, connecting, at least by email, gated communities with each other and also with residents in other parts of the city. Also, as you're aware, in August, and it has been mentioned, the Bonita Springs LPA voted 5-1 against Seagate's project. Additionally, I have read, as I'm sure you have, your very capable staff's factual report on this development. A very impressive piece of work. Notwithstanding assertions by the applicant, it is my understanding that a change in the DRGR in this case would in fact likely be precedent-setting. Not only could it turn Bonita Beach Road into the next Immokalee Road, but it could forever change the quality of life for all Bonita Springs residents. And it could be precedent-setting and building throughout the entire city for all the reasons set out in our city's recently updated comprehensive plan, another very thorough document, including but not limited to essential flood protection. We need the DRGR not to be overturned. We have looked at all the campaign finance and treasury reports and know that there are those among you, although not all of you, who have taken substantial campaign contributions from Seagate and other developers. I do hope that honor will prevail and that the votes cast here tonight will reflect what each of you believes will be in the best interest of the people who elected you, the people you serve, not to the developers who may have given you money. Ultimately, what so many of us have been talking about tonight are quality of life issues, why we moved here and why we love living here, and why it's worth preserving. Far, far more than any other issue, every single study I've seen, including from the National Association of Realtors, shows that increased traffic not only affects people's quality of life, but also negatively impacts our home values. And although Yuri, whose last name I can't pronounce, the traffic consultant for the applicant, didn't mention it tonight on a previous Zoom call with the applicant, he did note that.
Thank you, ma'am. Next. Sorry.
Chuck Nichols.
4 minutes flat.
Okay, Thank you.
Chuck Nichols, and he'll be followed by Dwight Esmond.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. For the record, my name's Chuck Nichols. I'm a voter and resident of Bonita Springs. I'm sure you've heard concerns about the following. Changing the DRGR, the highly negative impact, precedent-setting impact on the entire city of Bonita Springs of granting Seagate's request to change the DRGR. 2, property values. Studies have shown, including from the National Association of Realtors, that more than any other factor, increased road traffic has a significantly negative impact on home values, which obviously would impact the taxes available on those. Road congestion. Bonita Beach Road already has a rating of D on an A to F scale. Not good. We need a pause, which would require a no vote from you tonight, until we know the impact, and you've heard this quite a few times here now, of the nearly 2,000 residences that have been permitted but are not yet occupied in our area, and their impact on traffic, getting on to 75 and other areas. 2 other issues I feel deserve your serious consideration before you vote. What hasn't been stressed enough tonight is that it's my understanding the city of Bonita Springs will receive only 6 cents on every property tax dollar that's generated from this proposed Seagate development. With such onerous impacts from yet more development, and with such minuscule compensation, I wonder what possibly could be the reason the city council would want to make a precedent-setting change in our protective DRGR. And lastly, at certain times of the day, and I think this is as much as important as anything, certain times of the day, the Logan Road roundabout is already very congested and presents safety issues. Approving the Seagate project with commercial space allows for a traffic light at one of Seagate's entrances. This may help Palmyra, which they need help on getting in and out of their community, but will radically increase congestion at the Logan Road roundabout when the light is red and backs up traffic on Bonita Beach Road back to the roundabout, even more than it already is. I urge you to vote no tonight on this issue.
Thank you.
Dwight Esmond, and he'll be followed by John Petty.
I'll try to be brief. Good evening, Mayor Gibson, council members. For the record, Dwight Esmond, Paradise Road area. I want to speak on the Seagate development. I want to make it clear that I am not opposed to development in the DRGR land, but to go from 1 house per 10 acres to 1 home for every acre, a 10-time increase in density just seems too much to me. I would support 2 homes for every 10 acres, something like a Bonita Grand Estates, where estate homes on big lots can have multiple guest cottages, ADUs, where they can house their chef, their housekeeper, their gardener, and their chauffeur. I would much prefer to see really high-end homes that rival anything in Southwest Florida, rather than just another development of million-dollar homes, no different than hundreds of others throughout Southwest Florida. And number 2, we, as other people have said, we need to wait and see what happens with the stormwater once most of the building that's taking place out there is completed. Just as a reminder, as I've said time and time again, we're building to a rainfall standard that's almost 50 years old, maybe older. We designed for 15 inches of rain over 3 days. That's no longer the 100-year event. Do we know what happens if that area gets 10 inches of rain this week and 10 inches of rain next week? Will people downriver be flooded out again? Will the city or the county or the state be asked once again to pay to help those people whose homes keep flooding because we keep making the same mistake in misjudging the amount of rainfall we can get? I don't believe for a second that any of you would vote for development just because it will increase the tax base for the city. I do know that some of you are worried about if the city doesn't approve this development, that the developer will go to the county and work out a deal because they think the county will approve it. And then the county will get the fees and the tax base instead of the city, and that is a legitimate concern. But don't you think if you asked the county commissioners nicely, that they would vote no on this? Yeah, perhaps if you don't think that's enough reason, I'll go way out on a limb. Perhaps we need to think about forming a new county here in South Lee, so that the county government pays attention to what the people of Bonita Springs, Estero, Fort Myers Beach, and other communities that don't seem to get the care and concern from the county that we believe we deserve. So maybe it's time to consider that option. It's time to put a hold on development until we know more, and it's time to raise the standard for stormwater retention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dwight.
John Petty, and he'll be followed by Vicky Mace.
How y'all doing? My name is John Petty. I'm a resident at Valencia Bonita. I moved from the Empire State, New York, about 13 years ago, and I've been living on Bonita Beach Road for these past 12, 13 years. When I first came down here, it was a real delight to see such a rural community. I'm sure you all remember the cattle next to Publix and the changes that were associated with that. I recall a lot of controversy with Logan Boulevard. I used to live at Village Walk, and there was really a lot of concern. Well, that was, in my mind, a non-issue now. I recall when there was no fire station and it was built, again, adjacent to Village Walk, and the concern that people had for noise, but it's been a non-issue. I recall the tomato fields next to Village Walk that is now part of Valencia Bonita, Bonita Landings, Bonita National, and the Seasons. That whole area has been upgraded, and for that, I've learned to accept change, and I've learned to embrace change. I think the development of these Rivanna Lakes will be a positive addition to our community, will raise the property values for adjacent homes. And for that, I would appreciate your vote in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. No applause.
Vicky Mace, and she'll be followed by Kathy Lebecci.
Hi, my name is Vicky Mace, and I live in Village Walk, very near this proposed property. And my major concern is traffic. We have to, basically everywhere we go, we have to go west on Bonita Beach Road and getting onto 75. So it's every single trip we make. And it bothers me that we're making these decisions to have development when we have the 2,000 units that we don't even know how they're going to impact us yet, because they haven't been finished, and that we have the uncertainty on whether or not the 75 improvements will actually happen. And if they don't, it's going to be such a mess. And those are my main concerns.
Thank you.
Kathy Lebecci, and she'll be followed by Mark Lebecci.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Kathy Lebisi, I live in Bonita National. I'm a realtor. I've lived here permanently for 4 years. I have seen growth. I constantly hear negative things by the community about how traffic's going to devalue, how the Association of National Realtors, traffic, decreases the value. I would like to challenge probably everybody in this room who lives Publix and down to Bonita National. From Hawthorne to every community that has been developed over the last 10 years, everybody has benefited by the increase of value that those new communities have brought to their homes. The value of Village Walk. The Village Walk person might have bought at $200,000, then sold for $500,000. Well, guess what? Bonita National came up. Now the value of Village Walk are in the 7s and 8s. Hawthorne, probably, I don't even know what it started at, probably started at $100,000 or $200,000. You're talking about the best way to buy real estate, and everybody here is valuing the value of their homes. We came to Bonita, we bought low. Eventually, we're going to pass these homes on to our children, whatever. We're all looking for the value in life of what our homes and our equity is worth. A lot of us are retired. People have all their money in the value of their homes. When I preach to people on how they should buy a home, you want to buy the least expensive home in the nicest community. You want to buy the cheapest lot in the nicest community. And not for nothing, you should be thanking these people. They're gonna be one of the most expensive homes sold on Bonita National, except maybe for Quail West. So your home value is only gonna increase. And if you think that it's not, you're wrong. I am in full support of this community. I think it's a wonderful value and increase. Yeah, nobody likes change and development and traffic, but you know what? We're basically here thinking of the value of our properties. And the value of your properties are only gonna increase drastically by the nice value that this gentleman is bringing into our community. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mark Labisi, and he'll be followed by Michael Cybery.
Mark not here? Okay.
Mike Cybery, owning Bonita National. And I've heard what Kathy said and appreciate everything that she's sharing with the group today. And I echo that as well. My main concern, though, is if this development does not get approved, what will be in its place? Will we see the apartments that are being built closer to I-75 now in this lot? Right, so we have a multi-dwelling unit with many more folks than what we're proposing here with 299 units. And I think that's a great concern. Also, with the improvements that they're looking to add, the commercial space, it's a huge benefit for all of us. I mean, I know just going down to Publix now, you know, out of Bonita National, it's a 20-minute trek just to get there, right? If I can cut that down to 5 or even 7 minutes and get the things that I need and get back home, that gives me more quality time with my family that I can enjoy and not be on the road. So with that being said, again, I ask that you take that into consideration and look to go ahead and approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Sibery, and she'll be followed by Fran Rizzo.
Good evening. I'm Joyce Cyberry, and I'm from Bonita National as well. They gave a great presentation, very informative. I just want to say that I am for this project. I think it's going to be great for the community. And thank you for all that you guys do. And please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fran Rizzo, and she'll be followed by Terry Hahn.
Fran? Okay, Terry?
Good evening. Thank you for your time and all that you do for our community. I was hoping to maybe get clarification. I've come to multiple meetings, read multiple publications to be educated, but I did see a screenshot, and I don't know who this question would be posed to, but it states, and folks have said if this project does not go through the city, they would go to the county, and there was a screenshot that was posted of existing entitlements. And already, that 90 acres, the industrial under, it is existing entitlements for 420 affordable housing units. So that's something I've never seen before. Is that true, that if this doesn't move forward, we could have 420 affordable housing units with no funding for an infrastructure?
I'm sorry, we can't answer questions, but maybe Steve or the applicant will answer when they get back up. So just continue your comments.
Okay, so that's what I'm observing is the county, like they already have around Racetrack, that development there was approved by the county, not the city. So they could very easily take that industrial area that they own and approve it for affordable housing. And we would not get the funding for the infrastructure. I'm from San Remo at Palmyra, that was developed in 2003. I don't want to take up a lot of time this evening, but I did send an email to the council yesterday, just my position on it, and that is, since San Remo was developed, San Remo, Palmyra, Sorrento, which are about 1,400 homes, that we are very challenged in this hazardous situation to try and get in and out of our homes right now. Reason being, since that area was developed, 5,000 homes have been developed to the east of us. That is what's causing our traffic right now before any 2,000 homes are developed. What I'm asking is a traffic light that's going to be funded by this developer is not a hindrance. It's a resolution for those of us to get in and out of our development in a controlled intersection, not being sitting ducks out there and accidents. Also providing the commercial grocery stores. We don't have to go west. So everyone to the east gets all the opportunity of these retail developments being funded by this developer. So as far as backing up the roundabout, we cannot get in and out of our community because people speed in that roundabout from the east on our behinds that we are challenged to slow down to be able to make a left into our communities. So it would require them going the speed limit. By the time I got through the roundabout a couple days ago to make a left into my community, going the speed limit, the car that went around me from the east was already well behind me, obviously speeding. So yes, they would have to abide by the speed limits. So again, I did send an email with some more additional information, but those are my observations. But most importantly, what I found out this evening is our other option is having 420 affordable housing units that on that land that is an existing entitlement of the county. So please, we're asking for your support to vote yes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was our last speaker slip.
Okay. Do you want to call the two that weren't here before and they came back in? Or just go to,
Fran Rizzo. Is there anyone in the hallway?
and what was the other name?
And Mark Labisi?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Mark Wabisi. I'm a resident of Bonita National. And these communities have brought opportunities for a lot of us. I'm from New York as well. And I think not approving a project like this is, you know, it's not giving others the opportunity to want to move here. More housing, right? So the other side of the sword is, I understand the traffic issues and things like that, but I really haven't heard much on solutions and how we could overcome that obstacle. That seems to be the biggest issue. I was outside there because I really couldn't hear well. I have a problem hearing, so I was reading on TV. But that's how I feel about it. You know, it's I want to see it happen, but I also understand and respect those who have other feelings. And I think one thing the meeting's lacking, and excuse me if I missed something, are solutions that people are feeling more comfortable with. So I don't really, maybe I'm wrong, I don't really hear a hard no that they're against it. They have reasonable concerns. It should all be considered and the project should go ahead, but not without the solutions where everyone could feel comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll open it up to others that haven't spoken on this yet. Anybody that wants to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go back to the applicant for rebuttals. Or do we want to do questions first?
They want to rebut.
I would do
Or questions first so that
Rebuttals?
can tie it all in together.
Thank you. Alexis Crespo for the record. Just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and we've I think done 9 or 10 community meetings over the course of this. So I think you can hear some consensus from the members that spoke, and so we do appreciate that. I want to just address a couple of items that were noted. In terms of the I-75 improvements, and if Yuri needs to come boot me off the podium, please do, but we were not submitting to you that FDOT is improving the Bonita Beach Road intersection. What they will be doing through their improvements will be the on-ramp. So they're not getting into the Lee County Road. They're going to take those on-ramps and extend them extensively. That 10th lane, the auxiliary lane, is going to be a queuing lane to get people onto I-75, and that's the issue right now, is the on-ramps don't have enough queuing volume to allow people to move onto the interstate freely. I'm sure you've all have attempted to do this at certain times. So just to clarify, it's not signalization there, it is getting those on-ramps bigger and getting the merge lanes extended significantly beyond what they are today to get people off Bonita Beach Road and flowing onto I-75. And I personally contacted Ron Gogoy, who is the deputy director at the MPO, and I can submit the email into the record that the project is moving forward, and as Yuri said, the funding online it's clearly still within the funding. The Live Local Act eligibility, was submitted into the record today as simply an entitlement due to state law changes that impact our 30-acre industrial portion of the site. So it's not the intent of Seagate. You can't find one affordable housing they're attached to. As I noted, quite the opposite is their intended and what they have developed in the past. However, it would be prudent to note that if this doesn't proceed, there are existing entitlements today, low density, 1 unit per 10 acres on the majority of the property, but that 30 acres is Live Local eligible, and you already have a Live Local project here locally, where that does not go through a public hearing process. You just meet the minimum income restrictions. It stays affordable for 30 years, and you're able to proceed with a development order instead of going through a rezoning process. So it was just wanting to indicate that those changes in state law since this project started would allow that to occur on the eastern portion of the site.
Good evening. Neil Montgomery again for the record. Thank you for your time. I want to just quickly address some of the issues. The environment, both in terms of species or vegetation. The Water Management District has reviewed that and evaluated that, and there are no adverse impacts. The testimony was there are no protected species on this site, so there is not an impact to protected species. And as was noted, we'll have to continue to redo that analysis. The concern is water quality. David Brown has testified that the water quality will improve. The degradation to Imperial River will be lessened by not dumping polluted water into the Kiel Canal. That won't happen if this property stays as it is. It will continue to degrade vegetatively and water quality and surface water-wise. Traffic. I know there's a lot of testimony about traffic. We have a disagreement about what FDOT is doing based on our communication, but here's a way to find out. This is a transmittal hearing. It doesn't approve anything. It sends it to the state, and the state agencies will review it and comment. One of those reviewing agencies is FDOT. We will get FDOT's comments as to whether or not there's an impact to FDOT roads and regionally significant roadways. So a way to find out the real answer is to transmit. That doesn't commit you to approving it. It just allows you to get input from the state. This property is annexed property, so it's not like any other DRGR in the city. It's different. It's under the county rules. They're different. And this property was annexed for urban purposes. DRGR isn't one of those. So I would submit that I'd very much appreciate if you would transmit this to the state so we can get feedback from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I make a motion to transmit.
I'll second that for discussion. Do we have any comments, questions?
Yes, I've got comments.
Yep. Yeah, all right, Jim, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
please.
I'm sorry. No, after you. I will defer to you, Mr.
I think some of my comments will be based on what you say, so far.
Okay. The Seagate Ravenna Lakes project has been addressed for the second time within the past 2 years by our local planning agency. And tonight, we'll address the proposed project for a second time within approximately a year's time. I'd like to first thank our community development staff for the thoroughness and their objectivity of their review of the proposed amendments to both the text and the associated maps of our comprehensive plan. I'd also like to go ahead and compliment the Seagate organization for their proactive outreach to the residents of District 6 and the city of Bonita Springs. Seagate held multiple public forums in integrated Zoom and held several follow-up meetings to answer questions from the community. It's my hope that other developers take Seagate's example and that we as a city formalize similar outreach requirements by future developments within our city ordinance. The Seagate Ravenna Lakes proposed amendments to our comprehensive plan has generated a petition with over 1,200 signers. And over 100 emails have been received by the council. And personally, I've received an additional 60 that I've had provided hard copies, extra copies out in the foyer, and they are part of public record. We as a council need to remind ourselves tonight. Tonight's vote is a transmittal of the proposed amendments to our comprehensive plan, and it's just that. It's a vote whether we support or not support the amendment of our comprehensive plan, and that it's not a vote on the quality or the development itself. Our comprehensive plan is our strategic plan regarding our future use for the land within the city's borders and establishes where we want to grow and what resources we want to protect. Since the formation of our city at the end of the millennial, we have formally reviewed our strategic growth plan, our comprehensive plan, at least 3 times as required once every 7 years. We have also had additional meetings. And each of the prior city councils in that process have made the conscious decision to retain our future land use designation for this particular 204+ acre property east of I-75 on Bonita Beach Road. As recently as this past August, this council had a comprehensive plan workshop, and although discussed, there was no follow-up directed to look at the amendment of the comprehensive plan for changing the current future land uses in Bonita Springs, including the land east of I-75. I keep going back, and I'm reminded by the flooding and the stormwater flow following Hurricane Irma and Ian. And most recently, last year's rainfall from Tropical Storm Debbie, Hurricane Milton. The land east of I-75 was a key part of that retention of stormwater and have protected our communities, regardless of what you want to designate the quality of the wetlands as. And is currently the home to a variety of wildlife, including the Florida panther. Should we decide not to transmit the proposed amendments, I fully understand that the developer has decisions to make relative to what they will do with the property moving forward. This is a strategic decision for the city of Bonita Springs regarding the future land use of this property and protecting the remaining limited DRGR, wetlands, and preserve acreage within our city limits. I will not support the proposed amendment to our comprehensive plan and its transmittal to the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Nigel?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Been debating sitting up here after listening to an earlier remark, so before I make my comments. I've known Bill Price for over 20 years. And the person who made the comment about some of us up here have taken money from Seagate, I guarantee you he didn't contribute to my campaign, nor did I ask him for any money. It was an inappropriate comment. I've known most of these people only for 3 years, but I know this is a group with integrity that cares about this city. So to put us in that basket of folks that are up here at the whim of developers, not true. And I feel more strongly about that.
No applause, please. Thank you.
My comments, I voted against this the first time, but everybody up here has been doing a lot of research on this project, and it is going to affect decisions that we're making going forward. What bothers me is the fact that looking at some of the things that are happening down in Collier County, they're approving projects, big projects. This one struck me. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, came over here in 2003 to make Bonita my home. Fort Lauderdale just took a presentation, and they'll probably approve it. There's if you've been over there on Sunrise Boulevard, it's called the Galleria. It used to be a magnificent project. It's about 31 acres. They're looking at approving just shy of 4,000 units on 31 acres. And a road that's 4 lanes, so 2 lanes each way. Things are going on in other cities where they haven't planned, but they need the money over there. And that's what always scares me, is if politicians need money, where do they go? So this is a chess game we're playing here. I've known Bill and what he's done over the years. I voted against this, but I started thinking, what can we do with this project? We can look at approving, I'd rather see 275, but we could look at approving 299 single-family homes, or we can wait until Bonita needs money, and we're going to somewhere down the road. All we need is another H word, or a council that doesn't quite have the integrity of the group sitting up here. By the way, we have term limits, folks, so you're not stuck with us for more than 8 years at the worst. So I'm changing my mind on this, and I'm going to vote yes simply because I would rather see less than 300 single-family homes than vertical, couple thousand units. And for the people that live in other communities, I asked the question of a friend of mine who shall remain nameless. I mean, Village Walk, we've got about 1,600 homes. Palmyra, about 1,300 homes. Hunter's Ridge, about 500 plus. So when somebody said all these homes, 299, would I rather it stay green? Of course I would. This is home for me. To the people, and Jim mentioned it, this is some of the emails. This is just emails, guys. It's 2 pages. We got the emails, we got the calls. I did receive several calls from people who asked me to vote against this, and just as long as we could keep these guys and other developers out of here for another 6 to 8 years, they're going to leave in 10 years and sell their home. Then they don't care. Those of us that call Bonita home, we've got a legacy to support. We care what happens in 5 or 10 years. So I've changed my mind. I'm going to vote to approve this.
No applause, please. Thank you. Chris?
I represent District 4, which is basically the area west of US 41 and north of the Imperial River. I also represent the area north of Shangri-La Road between 041 and the high school. So you may ask why I'm concerned with this. And I think I'm in a position to maybe look at this in a very objective way, because quite frankly, if somebody's asked me, I don't have a dog in this fight. But what I do have a fight about is the amendment to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan has undergone study, as Nigel indicated many times. And the reason we have a comprehensive plan is that we have to comply with the Florida statutes. And the Florida statutes, especially Florida Statute 163, deals with anti-sprawl. And I'm not saying that this would create anti-sprawl, but that's what causes the city to develop a comprehensive plan. Well, within that statute is a set of criteria that has to be met in order for a project that's to comply with a comprehensive plan. So what are those criteria? Well, one of them is the future land use and keeping the DRGR integrity. And, you know, the applicant's argument is that the site is contiguous with urbanized areas south of Bonita Beach Road and is already disturbed. Extension of the urban fringe community district represents a logical and environmentally managed expansion. I look at it that says that maintaining the DRGR protection is consistent with longstanding city and regional policy. And I would argue that site-specific reclassification undermines the integrity of city's growth boundary and encourages piecemeal erosion of environmental policy. Basically, I think it's important that we don't do anything to disturb what we have as a comprehensive plan with respect to the DRGR. The anti-sprawl growth portion of the Florida statute says that we have to emphasize compactness, contiguity, efficient services, and delivery. What we're doing is we're leapfrogging the development. We're saying this development is nothing more than Village Walk in Palmyra and Bonita National. We're just going to put the same criteria, use leapfrog considerations, and put it on this space. That doesn't work for me. It's pattern-based. Sprawl is pattern-based. It's not just infrastructure-based. And even though the infrastructure is alleged by the applicant to be able to support the development, I find that the overall is not. The city's position aligns with the Florida case law in this regard. Physical and infrastructure integrity is another aspect. So while the infrastructure will be privately financed and hooked up, long-term life cycle and maintenance costs remain public, making denial fiscally prudent. In other words, there's no concurrent funding for the long-term maintenance with respect to stormwater and sewer connections. I could go on, but the bigger thing is to me, is the traffic. There is a traffic requirement that says that it has to be in place. That, it's sort of like the guy that would say, I'll buy a horse if you'll build me a barn. Well, that doesn't work when it comes to roads. We can't assume that the Lee County is going to improve Bonita Beach Road. We can't assume that FDOT is going to fix the interchange at Bonita Beach Road. We can only do that when those projects are funded, and it's my understanding those projects aren't funded. So we have to deal with those as they currently exist. So for all these reasons and for all the reasons set forth in the staff report, I don't find a reasonable basis to amend the comprehensive plan. In fact, I think we have to recognize the fact that, there's always a temptation to say, well, we'll transmit it. If the state approves it, then we can deal with it through the permitting process and the land development order. But I would remind council that we have to contend with now Senate Bill 180. And because of Senate Bill 180, we're going to find a lot of headaches with trying to do certain things with the permitting process, with the land development order, and not open ourselves up to lawsuits regarding trying to limit this development if we go ahead and amend the comprehensive plan. We're better off dealing with this now. It's a legislative process. As long as we make a reasonable decision with respect to maintaining the comprehensive plan, we are in good shape. And I'm not willing to take the risk of making an unreasonable decision, so I will vote no.
Thank you, Chris. My view on this is I see what's happening in the county. They're allowing much higher densities, if you go out Corkscrew and Alico. And over 25 years ago, the people of Bonita voted to become a city because we were tired of leaving it up to the county. We wanted to take control of our destiny. So I see not doing this as kind of slighting that move to become a city because we're still leaving it up to the county. And pretty much everyone that spoke against this in emails and in person here, it all had to do with traffic. The flip side is if we don't do this and the county allows them to build more houses, there's going to be more traffic. So I believe by doing this, in the comp plan, originally it was a higher number per acre, but they've changed it to be 1.5 or just under 1.5 per acre. So we're locking in a lower density to protect us from more traffic on the roads. And then also, if the city does this, we get the impact fees for the roads, so we can make improvements where needed. Where right now, the county, most of their impact fee money is all going to the northeast, because that's where they're seeing all their development is pushing further out that way. So problems that are already happening in the developed areas aren't getting fixed because they're trying to stay ahead of it for the future. So I think we'd be on the short end of the stick for trying to get anything done down here in that aspect also. I am a huge supporter of the DRGR. If we have to fight a lawsuit over it, I'm totally in favor of doing that. But because of the Kiel Canal and this property being adjacent to Bonita Beach Road, I really don't see this as part of the larger DRGR that's in the city. So I don't see that as much of an issue. I don't think that's going to set a precedent for the rest of the DRGR. And like I said, I will fight, for the rest of the DRGR. I don't think this is going to be a precedent-setting event. The other side of it, we benefit greatly from the Crew Preserves. If it wasn't for that, we would be Naples-Immokalee Road. We would be Corkscrew, because all that's in the county, and it would have all been blown wide open. But thank God we have the Crew lands to protect us from that. So there really isn't a whole lot more land that can be done because of that. As they brought up, there are a few more parcels that are in the county. It would be better if they came into the city so we could make sure it's a higher class of project going in and maintain, our standards. And also it was mentioned that we do require a higher standard for the stormwater runoff. So if it went to the county, it's going to be a lower standard, and we may see more problems. So I just think that, it'd be short-sighted to vote no on this, leave it to the county, and then get screwed. So that's why I will be voting yes to transmit this. So, Laura?
Well, I agree with everything you said. And the thing is, Seagate has been one of the most cooperative developers we've ever dealt with. They have made the adjustments to requests at every turn, and then even did more. Right? So they're going to absorb the cost of putting in a light, which helps Palmyra increase the safety in terms of ingress, egress. They are going to increase the quality of water. They're going to increase the aquifer water. They're going to increase the water that's discharged from the Kiel Canal into the Imperial River. So this is just a win-win-win-win for our community. And property values in the area will go up. And this will not set a precedent for changing the DRGR. I think each DRGR needs to be assessed individually, and then, as Alexis pointed out, this is not continuous with the DRGR to the east. So I'm positively in favor of this.
Jamie?
I've sat here tonight and listened, and I read emails and thought about this. We've had many discussions about it, a couple meetings. And I just have to agree with everything that Chris said. I mean, we have the comprehensive plan in place for a reason. Our previous council has had that in place and kept it there, and I just strongly agree with that. I have environmental concerns also, a lot of traffic concerns also, so I'm going to have to vote no on this.
Thank you. Jesse, you have any comments?
Hey, yes, couple. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about this. I'm in Miami and I'm outside, but I'm trying to keep the noise to a minimum. Here's the deal. This is going to happen with or without us. So the question is, do we want to drive or do we want to be a passenger? The county is going to get this project and they're going to make it twice as big as we wanted, and we're not going to get any of the impact fees, and we're going to get maximum density and way worse traffic. So there, in situations like this, there's always this third idea that, hey, we're going to vote no and it's going to go away. The reality is that's not what's going to happen. We've been down this road before, and we've spoke directly with the developer, and we understand that that's what's going to happen if we don't do it. And what we are proposing is significantly less dense than what they would get from the county. The traffic will be significantly less. And I voted against this last time, but I'm a realist. We are going to get all of the impact and none of the money, or we can minimize the impact and at least get the money. That's all we can really do. There is no, the idea that this just goes away, that it is, unfortunately, just not reality. And for those of you who've been here long enough, you understand. So for me, there's no sense in us bargaining, the future of the city on something that isn't real, when we're only going to end up in court and end up right back here, or they're going to run them to the arms of the county, and then we're just going to get stuck with all of the impact and none of the money. So for me, I'm gonna be a yes on this. And I'll also say, as far as the developer goes, even though I was a no the first time around, I met with them and they agreed to increase the size of the commercial. And to me, it was really important that the commercial was done in phase one. And I wanted it done in phase one because these are the type of projects people get it and then they flip it. And then, maybe the commercial never comes to fruition. Well, honestly, the commercial is really the only component that I love. I mean, the housing is beautiful, but I mean, we need commercial out there. So I was happy that they were able to make it larger and that they were able to make it part of phase one. Concessions they didn't need to make. So for me, it's a yes. And so I've got.
Thank you, Jesse. Jim, you had one more comment?
Yeah, I just want a point of clarification. I know where the vote's going to go, and this is more of a question for John Dahlmer. Regarding the amendments that are going to be voted on here, if I understand correctly, the lower end of the density would be 1.4 per acre. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
And but it does not put a cap on this property, that the 2.77 per acre would still be part of that classification for this property?
Correct.
Which at 2.77 is theoretically a change between now and the development. It could go from 299 to 566. Is that correct?
The zoning application could be amended, and they could request additional units.
I just want it for record. Thank you.
The applicant wants to clarify something? Go ahead. Yeah, to the microphone, please.
And Alexis can kind of go through this, but we had that discussion, and when we've been going through this, we were told, well, that doesn't really have to go in the comp plan. And I asked Alexis, can it go in the comp plan? So I'll allow her to speak to that, Jim.
Again, Alexis Crespo for the record. The range is because I mentioned Valencia and Bonita National are in the same category. Their density is the 2.77.
Right.
We are the 299, which is 1.4 units per acre. We can include between, if please transmit us tonight, we can come back at adoption and insert a clause that says this project cannot have more than 299, so that any future amendment would have to be a comp plan change, not just a PD amendment. And so we're more than comfortable putting the belt and suspenders on this.
We have counsel shaking his head that this is a doable thing and is agreeable to your end, correct? That would.
Agreeable,
Yeah, what Alexis just said, that is correct.
That is correct, Jim. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically locking in the lower density, roughly the 1.4, 1.5 at 299 units.
If transmitted.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
No.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
No.
Councilmember Bogaz.
No.
Deputy Mayor Purden.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-3.
All right, thank you. All right,
Can we go home? Please, Daddy, please.
that was the first of 3, so.
Sad day.
Does anybody need a break before we continue on?
Well,
we
let's let all these folks, so 5-minute break.
That's
All right.
good.
You may want to take it for 5 minutes while these guys
Yeah.
are all.
All right, we're going to do a 5-minute break while everything switches over.
Must